Hey YouTube, welcome to the aftermath of what was Manchester United versus Manchester City's 4-1 loss at the away ground, I guess. So we just have a certain number of talking points which we'll be going through, and we can just cover why exactly United lost this game, and we can just point out reasons, but I think there's just a gulfing class between these two teams at this point. So if you look at all those four goals, I think we just summarize the entire game for those of you who didn't actually watch the game. So for the first 20-25 minutes, I think we were quite good. As far as United are concerned, good is too much to ask at this point. So when I say good, I think we were there in the game, and basically after the 30 to 35-minute mark, I think our heads just went loose, and City just had control of the game till the end of the first half. And I don't exactly know what happened in the halftime dressing room talk, but when they came out in the second half, I thought that we had a chance to actually equalize, but that didn't really. Unfortunately, well, what came out of the second half is much worse than what I could have ever predicted. Meaning we basically didn't do anything in the second half. It's like players just came out and was like, you know what, this is not going to work anymore, and I'm just going to decide to not play this game anymore. And for some reason, when we came out in the second half, we just we didn't do anything in the second half. So that's basically it. I think there were four goals to this game. So the first goal was a shit goal. So if you actually look at the I think I'd be putting a photo of this somewhere around. Telles was actually pointing to Maguire to to block the cut back that City often do almost in every attack they try. But Maguire doesn't hear it the first time. I don't know what exactly happened, but he didn't hear it the first time. Then, when the second time happens, he still didn't hear it, and so the goal just De Bruyne had a clear goal, and there was just ample space in between the box, which it should never be. So we had Varane for this game. I think he would have defended that quite better. In any way, I'm pretty sure any defender at the world at this point would defend that better. So we can just go to the second goal. Then I think again Maguire. I don't exactly know what he is doing here. This goes to the point where I really can't handle as a Manchester United fan, and this isn't working. And the third goal was I think is and the third goal was I think is set piece routine from City's training ground, so to speak. I think if that's the level they have at their training ground, I think they're just doing really, really well. And the fourth goal was just concentration and the defensive line. I think both defenders today were absolutely horrendous, so to speak. So, that generally concludes the game. I don't. I think we were quite close, despite the result saying 4-1. But I think that's because City never had they didn't have to put more effort into this team because we just cracked on ourselves. So I think we have few talking points here for today, And so the first one is harder games and training. So I don't know, like if you look at City's training, it definitely looks like their trainings are absolutely hard. The training is probably the most hardest in the league. So when they come to the games, so the games tend to be a little bit more easier, so little less taxing. So I don't think, and when the same thing happened at United when Ragnick got appointed, you could see all the leaks coming in. I mean, I don't really believe all these leaks, but it had to be some credible source for these leaks. So what I think is that these players that we have, these 11 to 15 players that constantly come to the starting lineup on the bench, bar Cristiano, I guess, just really don't have the mentality. They just have this easygoing attitude that everything is going to come to them. And as we can see, it didn't. Then, I mean, we can go about this. I'm pretty sure this is just common consensus at this point. But there is just a gulfing class between the quality of the two teams, and that goes like, I mean, United and City have both invested. I mean, City have invested more, I guess, but as far as what managerial appointments concerned, I think I think like that's about yeah. So in terms of player weaknesses, the biggest problem we have at this point. So you can just have a look at our squad. So we have Ronaldo up top, then we have Sancho, then we have Bruno at cam, and Rashford at left wing. We have McTominay playing off position at CDM, and we have Pogba, and we have Aaron Bissaka on the right back, and probably Dalot as well. Then we have Varane, Maguire, Lindelof, Telles, Shaw, and De Gea. So if you look at all these players, I think I'm going to be starting. I'm going to write their weaknesses in this sheet. So the problem we have with Cavani and Ronaldo is just that Ronaldo is 37 and Cavani is almost 35. So on top of not just being injury prone, they really don't have the energy to play high pressing football that Ralph is trying to implement. Then we have Sancho at right mid. I mean, he's been good off late, so I won't really. He's pretty versatile as well. So that's with Sancho. Then Bruno's pros are like he's great at creating, decent at passing. I mean, he tries awful too hard, and the most important con or disadvantage of having Bruno on the squad is just too emotional, a form issue at this point. But I think we can just wait. Let's just wait to see what exactly he does. But when you have a player off form, that's bad as it is. And we have Elanga on the right as well. He's been pretty decent, but he doesn't have the skills that Rashford does. So I think we are expecting something from Rashford, but we're just not getting it at this point. And we have McTominay at CDM. Not only he's two-dimensional at CDM, but he's not a CDM as well. So he's not an Italian born in England sort of thing. He's a Scottish boy. He's very rugged and he likes physicality. But for the modern game, we need a bit of brains as well at CDM. We need someone like who can play the Mozzala role at Italy, I guess, someone like that. And Pogba has been great of late, so I just put him on the left mid position, left center mid. I think he's been good off late. So he's pretty clumsy as well at times, but most of the times he's just too good. Like you can just see the difference between class between all these players. So when Bruno gets the ball and Pogba gets the ball, you know that something's gonna happen. But when you see like Bissaka or Shaw or even Ronaldo for the sense, I don't really expect anything to happen because the ball eventually comes back to the centre backs and the play starts up again. Then we have Van Bissaka, right back, and the biggest problem he has is he's very two-dimensional. He's not really great at passing, and he's really, really clumsy on the ball. So that's a problem, to say the least. That's a huge problem, in fact. And this is the problem that City exploited throughout the 90 minutes. Great at handling them. I'm being a little unfair to Van Bissaka because we bought him to actually do what he does. And I think that acquisition itself was wrong, more or less. And I think we can just go to the centre back position. I mean, generally in almost anything, his decision making is on point. For two people who are almost at the same age, you can literally see where they are at their careers. Varane has won almost everything there is to win, and Maguire has probably done nothing. And generally, so I wouldn't really go into depth about Varane, but I want to go. Maguire was the talking point of this game. About 2 goals he could have prevented. His head's gone for some reason this season. I'm not sure exactly why. But if we are to have standards at this club, I think we have to sell this guy. I don't know, 30 million, 25 million. If Ben White is worth 55, then I think Maguire is worth something. Then he's extremely clumsy. For a defender that is playing at a top tier club, he's extremely clumsy, and that's not a good showing. And when it comes to Shaw at left back and probably Telles, I take Telles because Telles constantly gives at least 6 out of 10. And Shaw sometimes gives like 11 out of 10 performances, and Telles is like. And some of the times, Shaw gives like 0 out of 10. He barely does anything. His positional awareness is generally all over the place. So, that's the weaknesses that United possess. But if you look at the City lineup at this point, I think I'll be showing this at somewhere, I guess. City, I wouldn't be going too deep into this, but they basically have no weaknesses. They probably do if you if you were to nitpick at each of these players. But I think overall, all of them possess one ability which just surpasses others. It's passing. So Grealish is a great passer. Foden is a great passer. Mahrez can pass well. De Bruyne is excellent. He's probably one of the best in the world at this point. Bernardo is a good passer, and Rodri is great. Laporte is good. Stones is good. Walker is good. Cancelo is good. Ederson is good. So all of them can pass really well. And they really don't budge under pressure, do they? So, and the most important thing about these front 6 players, Grealish, Foden, Mahrez, KDB, and Rodri and Bernardo, is that they're extremely versatile. So they're quick. Their transitions are extremely quick. They can almost play in any position on the field. So in Pep's system is what I mean. So Mahrez can play across the front 3. KDB can play across the midfield. And since Pep Guardiola is known to use inverted fullbacks, which he actually didn't in this game, Walker and Cancelo are actually capable of playing in the central mid position, I guess. So basically, they have no weaknesses. So in the second half, I just think that Pep was like, you know what, there's Van Beek on the left, just press him to see what exactly happens, and he just gave up the ball. So, that's basically it. And what frustrates me most about this game is the lack of desire. So City have this ability, when they're actually going down in the game, they do tactical fouls, so to speak. It's like a knee-jerk moment for them, saying that, we're going to perform, we'll just foul them just to see what exactly happens. So they are not only they're tactically versatile, so their mentality is extremely strong as well. So their tactical falls are almost exactly at the same time, which is just crazy level of consistency that they have. I mean, that's basically the weaknesses between the two sides. You can just see that we need significant investment into this team, but unfortunately, we are not backed by oil-rich owners. So I think this will take another 3 years, and that is if we get the right manager appointment in the summer. But at this point, I really don't have words to say about this performance. And I mean, so we get this seamlessly just goes into the third point, I guess, regarding managerial dominance. So Sir Alex Ferguson, when he, I mean, in his book, he had written that this. I didn't read the book yet, but I know the snippets in the book. He had written about if a player becomes bigger than the manager, that's when you're going to lose the dressing rooms. I'm just paraphrasing, but I think that I mean that's exactly the problem we have in the dressing room. So if you look at our starting lineup, look at the players that we have who probably are better than the manager. We have Ronaldo, we have Sancho, I guess, but Sancho so far has been doing quite well. We have Maguire. All these came from big money signings, right? So they think that they're better than the manager, and they can throw managers under the bus at any time they want. And it's happened so far because we've changed 3 managers this summer, and the most consistent thing between the 3 managers is the squad, and there's something wrong with the squad. So I mean, so if you just could compare this to Arteta's Arsenal at this point, but one thing that Arteta has that we don't have is all 11 players are not better than the manager. So the manager is the biggest guy there. So there is only one guy who was better than the manager, at least from the ego perspective, and that was Aubameyang, and he got sold. I mean, he left himself. So, and that goes again seamlessly to the next point that I wanted to talk about, which is our past managers. For the sake of respect, I wouldn't use Moyes in this discussion. So we had Van Gaal, we had Mourinho, and we had Ole, and if all Van Gaal actually built a good team that actually was inferior to the manager, and they were really really good in their work rate as well, but had some better manager inherited that squad, I think we could have gone somewhere. But since Jose inherited it and he had a different task at hand regarding winning Premier League and Champions League because of his CV, he had to buy experienced players to actually supplement all these players that we had, and which probably didn't really work out because Ibrahimovic left probably the next summer, next winter, I don't know. Then when Ole came, I think this was past that PSG signing Neymar and Mbappe for 222, 160 million. And every player at this point was extremely inflated, and Maguire was inflated. I think generally any player. Ben White was 55 million, Timo Werner, because of his release clause, was cheap. But I think even Timo Werner, so to speak, normally back then would have costed upwards of 25 to 30 million. But right now, because of this inflation that we have in the market, every player was extremely expensive at this point when he bought. So Maguire, at that point, seemed like a no-brainer move because there were no centre backs in that window. There were, but it wasn't really great at that point. And that's basically it, I guess, with regard to this point. And United has become one of these places where player power has become quite significant. The thing is, the other club that possesses this level of player power is Chelsea. And the problem with Chelsea right now is, no, actually, Chelsea have done a good job of actually handling that, because since the amount of finances that they possess, like coming from the owners and Abramovich, at least before, um, the they were able to replace and they were able to throw out big money signings. So if you could look at Havertz, it's about 70 million or something, and they're able to keep him on the bench. So which, for a club like United is probably impossible. So if you buy a player for 70 million, that guy goes into the first team. So if you know what I mean. And this is basically it, right? So we have Pogba, Maguire, Ronaldo, and Bruno, who are all big money signings. Bruno is probably, I wouldn't say big money, but for us, it's a lot of money. Ronaldo is not a big money signing, but for a 37-year-old spending upwards of 25 million is not a good signing at all. Especially when we are in need of a young centre forward. So that's a problem then. Then we have Maguire, who's 80 million and who's not even come close to make a good performance this season. Apart from a couple of games, I guess. Then we have Pogba. I don't think people really give Pogba that much credit. They keep saying that he's inconsistent, but like Pep said in his press conference, there is just far more things that a player does apart from his goals and assist contributions. But I think, he's been largely good for United, but our team has never really been consistent. So it's I just think that people have different perspectives on Pogba at this point. But I think the biggest problem that United have is with his agent and less Pogba. So I don't think I think we should keep Pogba and sell probably Maguire, Ronaldo, Cavani. I think Cavani's leaving this window anyway, so we should probably do that. And there's just so many players you can sell Van Bissaka, but I think he'd come handy in certain games. I think we would need some depth, but we definitely need it right back at this point. Then the next point probably I want to talk about is future quality versus current quality. I think we can go back to the chart that I made about Manchester United. If you look at the weaknesses that we possess in our squad, and if you look at City or Liverpool, what they possessed with respect to being modern is Alisson can pass, Van Dijk can pass, Matip can pass, Trent can pass. Oh, come on. Robertson can pass. Henderson can pass. If you look at the players that they sold, Wijnaldum could pass. Keita could pass. Thiago could pass. Salah could pass. Mane can pass. Origi is decent. Although, Firmino can pass. Who am I saying? So, but if you can look at the United side, on contrast, Sancho can pass, Bruno can pass, then Rashford can pass. That's based on his form, I guess. Ronaldo can rarely pass. So in sometimes I look like, why can't? Sometimes you can look at the pitch and you'll be like, why aren't you doing this every game at Ronaldo? But I get it. He's just 37. So then McTominay, I do think that he does possess the ability to pass, but he really doesn't. So we want natural players at their natural position. Since he's a CM, I don't want him at CDM. We still possess a makeshift CDM, which is a shame at this point. Then we have Pogba, who can pass. Telles can pass. Maguire can pass at times, but the other things that he has, which are negative, is almost a problem every time. And Varane can pass, but Van Bissaka can't pass. And when it comes to the goalkeeper, I think Daya is probably the worst at this, because he really doesn't possess any ability to pass. Sometimes the ball goes to the right guy. He tries, I guess, but when you look at how Daya takes the ball, in the sense how he controls the ball, it doesn't really seem like he's comfortable doing it. So I'd be far inclined to keep Henderson doing the sweeping stuff, because I think that he's good. So I think with the team with inferior ability, I think this is This is just terrible squad building at this point. I think I'll probably end it at that. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Ciao.